In a small Adelaide community recently devastated by bushfire and stripped of its signature landscape, a proposal for a new residence by a local media personality earlier this week has generated debate within the community. Borat reports from the scene.
This is a Borat at the scene of the crime. The bushfire has denuded the entire area, leaving nothing of value. All that is left are these gypsies, who have quickly erected shanty shacks. The true landowners intend to throw these gypsies out and rebuild as soon as possible with the updated building code.
An effort was made by landowners and the city to develop a master plan that would enable the natural environment to regenerate. However, no master plan materialised from this planning process. Landowners were eager to begin rebuilding on an individual basis as soon as possible, and the council agreed to process the approvals quickly. The debate has risen due to conflicting concerns and values amongst the community, as during the failed attempt at a master plan, the city agreed to allow rebuilding to the maximum allowable allotments. This conflicts with the community's concern about regenerating the natural environment.
I've approached the architect to design my new dream home for myself and my family on an allotment in Adelaide Hills. I plan for the home to take advantage of the million-dollar views of the city below, both in our private areas and those that I use to entertain all my friends. It will be one of the first houses to be rebuilt in the area after the fire, and it will be very visible within the neighbourhood. I've been given approval to rebuild the maximum allowable area on my allotment under an updated Building Code of Australia, and I've developed a program with my architect for the house within these allowances. I'm not entirely happy with the current scheme that the architect has presented to me. I've requested that he revise the scheme as it didn't use up all of the permitted area that we're allowed to use, both horizontally and vertically. I also don't feel that he has maximised the views on the site, which is very important to me. While I appreciate that he has tried to stay to the vernacular style, it is not to my taste, and I would prefer something more engaging and sophisticated. I understand that the architect has some concerns about the ability of the current scheme to enable the natural environment to regenerate. I'm not necessarily against bringing foliage back to the area, but I don't want to sacrifice space in my own house for a few trees. I'm the owner of this land and I'm the one paying for the house. Therefore, I expect that the architect will resolve the building in a way that will satisfy my needs. I have a number of friends in high places around Adelaide, and if the architect does a good job, this will be a good opportunity for him to establish his office. I understand that the architect has some concerns about the ability of the current scheme to enable the natural environment to regenerate. I'm not necessarily against bringing foliage back to the area, but I don't want to sacrifice space in my own house for a few trees. I'm the owner of this land, and I'm the one paying for this house. Therefore, I expect that the architect will resolve the building in a way that will satisfy my needs. I have a number of friends in high places around Adelaide, and if the architect does a good job, this will be a good opportunity for him to establish his office.
Letter cross to Bob Loblaw.
When I was initially commissioned by the client, I saw the project as a real opportunity to establish myself as a renowned architect in the city of Adelaide, whilst demonstrating and expressing my design skills and setting the tone for future building design in the area. My first impressions of the project brief suggested a strong desirability to preserve as much of the site for green space, both from an ecological perspective and a community standpoint. Whilst the client requested maximising the vertical envelope, I felt that this would result in negative aspects on adjoining allotments, views and privacy issues. It seemed clear to me that matching the vernacular to the character of the area would assist in resale value and community opinion. However, the client insisted the design did not utilise full area of the site permitted, nor did it maximise the view, and requested I compose a new design. It was at this point that I was confronted by an ethical dilemma. As the architect, I have a duty not only to my client, but also the larger community. I went about exploring all my options and discovered I could choose one of 4. If I were to terminate the project, it would limit bad feedback from the community, whilst also adhering to my personal beliefs. However, this could hinder my chances of establishing myself in Adelaide and possibly limit future commissions. It also occurred to me that there was no guarantee that the next architect would do what was ethically right, which would make my efforts seem wasted. If I were to stay with the initial design and insist that it was the best possible outcome for the client and the design program, it may not give the client everything they wanted, but it would provide the community the area for regeneration and privacy while still meeting my ethical standpoint. This would then leave the decision with the client, but could end in me losing the job. If I were to surrender and give the client exactly what he wanted, it would forever be a reminder of something that my company wants not to be associated with. It would go against my ethics, the requests of the community for vernacular interaction and environmental regeneration and privacy, and make my company appear easy to persuade. On a positive note, it could make future commissions easier to obtain, while strongly helping to establish my business in Adelaide. In the end, I concluded that ethically it was best to try and redesign the project. This provided me with the opportunity to find a compromise which the client, the community, and myself would be happy with, which is essentially the task of the architect as the mediator. Although this could possibly require more designs and more work from me, I feel it would give me a chance to meet the design brief more accurately and produce something that provides the client with what he wants and that we are both proud of. It would also give me the opportunity to educate the client on environmental design, which, I feel, if the client had a better understanding of, would increase his respect for and recognition of the need for environmental design in his development. The community would also gain the necessary space for regeneration and privacy, whilst also being provided with a precedent for the area's future direction. From a personal perspective, it helps me attract future jobs and whilst establishing my business in Adelaide. But more importantly, I feel this is the best approach as it meets my ethical viewpoint.
I've been interested in blah blah blah's work for many years now, but have yet had a proper opportunity to fully assess his ability as an architect. The success of this project will give me a great confidence in his work.